This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stockbox interview. Hello and welcome to the Research Talks here on Stockbox with Alan Green. And Alan, for the first time, I'm coming to you from Rotterdam, where I moved to just this week. And it's a lovely, sunny, very warm day here in Rotterdam. But how is it with you?
Hello, Mark. It's very warm here in Seaford on the south coast. Had a spectacular day yesterday with sunshine and goodness knows what else. But yes, but congratulations to you on moving to your new apartment, and also congratulations, of course, on your wedding celebration the other week.
Indeed, yes, it was a busy week, getting married for the second time to the same person, and more of a celebration, and then coming back and moving house. Yes, so all in one week. Yeah. But you know, it's at least it gets it all done in one go, and I can get back to focusing on the markets. Not that they're that exciting at the moment, but you know, it is what.
Well, they're not. No, I'm well. Frankly, they're awful, aren't they, at the moment? But we're all in the same situation, and the companies we're working with and the companies we're invested in are in the same situation. And work continues. Nothing's changed in the operation of the company. It's just the markets, of course, are in a fairly parlous state, given the inflationary issues, given the interest rate rises, and of course the FTSE took a battering yesterday from that. It's come back a bit this morning. But I think if the medicine is seen to start working and inflation starts to peak and we see those numbers start to come back down, then of course that's a good thing. But it's certainly very damaging to the economy in the interim.
Indeed, yes, it is indeed. But you know, in the summer, as we often know, doesn't really do a lot for the stock market, does it? It's a time also to take stock, I think, and just do your research and prepare for when the business year starts again in sort of September time. But also get out and actually enjoy some. You know, we work throughout all the winter. Get out and have a bit of a rest as well. You know, there's more to life than looking at green and red candles on a computer screen.
You're so right. You're absolutely right. And yes, I have taken advantage of that. Obviously, as you know, went to Cornwall the other week, and last week I had a motorcycle trip around Wales with a bunch of renegades I've known for many years, and it was great fun. Got rained on a bit, but we saw some beautiful parts of Wales and had some great weather, and drank lots of brains and ate lots of food. So there we are.
Excellent. Good. Sounds good, Alan. Sounds very good. So today you're going to be talking to us about Botswana Diamonds, of course, yes. The company who are exploring for diamonds in Botswana, funnily enough, run by James Campbell, and also Tertiary Minerals. So you wanted to kick us off with Botswana Diamonds?
Yeah, let's start with Botswana, Mark. Botswana Diamonds are a long-standing company, been around for many years, and the company is worth currently 8.6 million, trading at 0.99p. It's had quite a good run, and I think you can say with Botswana, looking at the share price, it's not been overly affected by the downturn and the battering that so many of the juniors have taken recently. Shares have traded at a high of 1.7p, a low of 0.78p, but certainly there's been some very strong developments across the group's portfolio of assets, which have I think helped to support the share price. But even so, given the downturn, I think they still offer fantastic value. So if you look at the Botswana Minerals website, you'll see Botswana they term themselves as junior explorer, and their strategy is to go where the geology is best. That's what they say on the website. And by that, they will go to old mines, to existing workings. They'll identify what are called diamondiferous kimberlites. And what are kimberlites? Well, a kimberlite is it's the term for igneous rocks that contain diamonds. And when magnetic surveys and ground surveys are taken, these can be identified in what they call pipes, kimberlite pipes. So the strategy of the group is to identify these diamondiferous kimberlites, to joint venture with larger companies to help develop and fast track development of the assets. So the company was really came about. It evolved from the team that was involved in the discovery and sale of the Karasawa diamond mine by Africa Diamonds, which was then sold to $90 million to the Karasawa Diamond Corporation in 2010. And the board of Botswana Diamonds were intimately involved at every step. I mean, James Campbell, chief executive, 30 years at various stages, has held board posts at Rockwell Diamonds, Stellar Diamonds, Lucaro Diamonds, who acquired the Karo gold mine, the Karo diamond mine, African Diamonds and West African Diamonds also. So the Botswana Diamonds was formed at the sale point of the Karo diamond mine. The group geographically and geologically focused on what's referred to as the Capval Craton. And of course, you'll have heard of the Capval Craton. We've talked about other companies operating in Botswana, Kavanga Resources for one. The Capval Craton straddles Botswana, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Eswatini, and Lesotho. And over the years, the Botswana has developed, or it has acquired stakes in and 100% ownership of a series of operators in the area. So, firstly, Sakaka Diamonds was acquired by Botswana from Petra Diamonds in November 2020. So that's getting on for nearly 2 years ago. Sakaka holds 3 prospecting licenses in the Kalahari and also an extensive database of data and knowledge of the region, which the group, of course, are working on. Then we have Sunland Minerals. Sunland Minerals, Botswana Diamonds became the operator of the company in 2018, owns exploration licenses also in the Kalahari, and it's targeting kimberlite pipes, which have been identified close to the Gagu mine, and also Botswana's own KX36 discovery. Some 267 indicators were identified across these licenses. A joint venture was also put together to acquire the Gagu mine with Gem Diamonds and Vast Resources. That has just lapsed, but it's likely that another solution will be found to that, and the acquisition will go ahead. Although of course, there will be some more time. More time will elapse before that takes place. Then the company has. It owns a 36% net holding in Mabwe Diamonds, and again, Mabwe owns a number of prospecting licenses in the Kalahari, also with BCL, which was a Botswana-owned state-owned company. I won't go into the complexities of the different ownerships and what happens, but suffice to say that these licenses, which are highly prospective, the new ownership is now Future Minerals 50%, Saseko 29%. Botswana owns 51% of Saseko, as I already outlined. So Botswana has a net interest in the Mabwe Diamonds assets of 36%. Then finally, on September 29th, 2021, Botswana Diamond acquired Vutomi, which now Vutomi is in South Africa, and Vutomi owns a number of properties called Razorbill Properties, and also the flagship Thorney River project. It owns although it's effectively the 100% owner, it's not, because it owns 76%, because under South African law, under South African empowerment law, a company has to own a percentage of the business. So Barrowville, which is the South African empowerment company, owns 24%. Now, there's a lot of history with the Thorney River project. James Campbell, of course, worked on the Thorney River project back in the 90s. So he's been involved and engaged in the region for many, many years. And I think this is what sets Botswana Diamonds apart. You've got a team in James Campbell, and of course the chairman, John Teeling. Now, I've known John Teeling for many years. He's an industry veteran with 40 years experience. He was involved in bringing to market African diamonds, Pan Am Andean Resources, Minco, A1 Gold, Persian Gold, and he's also the chairman of Cooley Distillery when it was sold to I think it was Jim Beam or Jim Beam or Jack Daniels. James Finn, the FD at Botswana, has 20 years experience in exploration. Then we have two non-execs, David Horgan and Robert Bouquet. So with Thorney River, this is the news that the company's released so far this year, I think, has not only helped us support the share price, but it's actually building into something that's hugely exciting and could have huge value. So on January the 12th this year, Botswana announced that the Thorney River kimberlite assessment had increased to 2 million tonnes. So how much is that and what's it relative to? If we compare it to the De Beers Southern Era Mars Fontaine mine volume, overall, that came to a total of 1 million tonnes, was of course hugely successful and very, very highly commercial. So the assessment with the Thorney River assessment increasing to 2 million tonnes, that really gave investors some idea in January of just what sort of potential was on offer here. The Botswana, also worth noting that it raised a further 550,000 to continue with the exploration work back in October last year. So that those funds are still very much in play, and as the research and exploration work is undertaken, and then we come closer to where we are now, April 25th. The analysis of the river blow that were undertaken by the team indicates potential open pit mine options. And of course, open pit mine is the cheapest way to get stuff out of the ground. Obviously, you've got to dig it in the first place, but then once you're there, the actual operating costs are relatively low compared to. So in a way, a PEA, a preliminary economic assessment, was undertaken, although this is pre-PEA in a sense. But the company made some assumptions, assuming mid-range values. They believe the mine's likely to be commercial. They hired an independent South African research firm called Practara, who based on the data they had, estimated that there would be the average grade that would come out would be some 170 carats per ton, with a recovered grade of 40 carats per 100 tons. And that's across a resource of some 1.7 million tons. So down from the 2 million tons, but a conservative assessment. So again, there's some idea of the scale and potential there. Then we come up to more or less up to date. May the 4th, the company announced the largest anomaly to date at the Thorney River, which was consistent with a kimberlite pipe of 25 meters in diameter. Now, normally the pipes are some 1 to 2 meters in diameter. This is huge. So given this discovery, the company have drilling planned in the dry season there in July and August this year. And of course, it's winter down there, so conditions are quite different to the conditions we're experiencing at the moment. So there's real excitement around this, and the share price, I think, has drifted slightly lower, but we're still off year lows of 0.78. We're just trading, as I'm looking at the moment, at 0.92p. So I think once we start to get some news back from the team on the ground at Thorney River, I think we're going to see some upward movement of the share price, conditions in the markets notwithstanding. Another update from the company as well on one of the other projects, May 19th, the Sakaka. Remember I talked about Sakaka Diamonds, which the company acquired from Petra Diamonds across the 3 licenses in the Kalahari. The team have undertaken a geophysics survey there near to the Botswana's own KX36 diamond discovery. And this, the geophysics survey, the data that's come back is indicative of kimberlite pipes. So this is in addition to the existing discovery in the area. So the company's in very capable hands. It looks a very resilient investment in the current environment, and also it's worth making a note of the of diamond prices too. When the company announced its interim results in March this year, it made a comment on the diamond market. A rapid and dramatic recovery in recent months, with prices rising by upwards of 40%. And of course, a lot of this was triggered by the Ukraine invasion. There's a lot of pent-up demand post-COVID, of course, and one of the world's biggest producer of diamonds, Alrosa, of course, is a Russian entity. If sanctions impact on Alrosa, which of course they certainly will, then they expect prices to rise further. It's seeing increased demand from across the world in most, if not all, categories of diamonds. So those would be industrial diamonds, as well as, of course, the diamonds suitable for jewelry and so on. So in summary, I think Botswana's at a very exciting juncture, and it's all about Thorny River at the moment. But with the Sakaka Diamonds asset developing, with Sunland Minerals joint venture, and the potential to acquire the Gagu mine still on the back burner, and of course the Mabuy assets as well, then I think Botswana's in great shape going forward.
Excellent. Okay, so there's a few projects there, isn't there, Alan, which is good for a company to have multiple projects. Do you have, I'm not saying a favourite, but which do you think is more advanced or more likely to give the near-term upside, do you think?
Well, I think looking at where we are at the moment, the fact I think all of the resources are being focused on Thorny River, which is of course the Vitomi company that Botswana Diamonds owns 75% of in South Africa. So this is the exciting one, and of course, let's not forget James Campbell, Chief Executive, who I know you're going to be speaking with on the upcoming Stopbox premiere. James Campbell is worked there sort of 30 years ago, so he's very familiar with the area. But now they've got the team on the ground, they've got the assets, they've got the funding, and drilling planned in July, August. I mean, that's really very near term. That's next month. So that's exciting. Sakaka also, I mean, all of the assets the group has across the Kalahari, are exciting. We know the Kalahari is a hugely fertile area for explorers on so many levels. So it's just very exciting. But I think you've got the nascent potential of the Sakaka, Sunland, and Mabuy exploration and production licenses across Botswana, and Vitomi really is the near-term catalyst.
Okay, good, excellent. And then diamonds as well. How have those prices been performing? They came off a lot, didn't they, during COVID? But then they seem to have rebounded a fair bit recently.
Well, they have, yeah. I mean, I mentioned the diamond market just now. Of course, it's seen the world's largest supplier, Alrosa, is being impacted by sanctions. So, of course, that supply chain has effectively been cut out of the world market, and so prices are continuing to rise. And of course, that's across the entire scope of the diamond product. Of course, for jewelry, for industry, for drilling, and of course, all the rest of it. So, I do believe the increase in prices will be sustained for some time to come. And obviously, if Thorny River, if this big kimberlite pipe yields up some great results early on, then I'm sure we're going to see a consequential increase in the Botswana Diamond share price.
Indeed. Okay, excellent. And I believe that Thorny River is the one that can come online pretty quickly once it can get going. And I think James said, I think it was referring to Mars Fontaine, that the payback was like days, literally a few days.
Yeah, that's right. I think with the Mars Fontaine discovery, it was literally payback within 1 or 2 days. What they found there covered the cost of exploration, covered all of the investment into the grades, everything else. So once the team starts on the ground in July, we could get some news on that pretty rapidly. And obviously, if that payback is pretty immediate, then given the size of this asset, they are literally scratching the tip of the iceberg. So it's a very exciting time.
It is, yes. And James Campbell, I like James. He's very active on Twitter. putting pictures up. And he's very active on LinkedIn as well. His LinkedIn profile is one of the most comprehensive LinkedIn profiles I've ever seen. He takes that quite seriously. So James is a good CEO to follow and keep up to date with what's going on the ground. So yeah, I like Botswana Diamonds personally and looking forward to seeing how that develops. So thank you for presenting the investment case there for us, Alan. So on to Tertiary Minerals then, our next company you're going to be telling us about.
Certainly, Tertiary Minerals. Again, this is well, I say one of the best kept secrets. It's not a secret, of course, but I think in terms of its valuation, it's so hugely undervalued still. Regardless of the movements of the market. I mean, the company's got a valuation of less than 2 million, and it has a bunch of assets to its name that I believe give it a valuation closer to that of Botswana Diamonds, at about 8 to 10 million. But that's just my opinion. Of course, the market will always find its own level. Tertiary Minerals have initially, if we go back a few years, Tertiary Minerals was the only AIM listed fluorspar company. Of course, fluorspar is a mineral that has a multitude of applications, and currently the market is quite benign. The company still owns assets in Sweden and in Norway, but those assets are dormant. Nothing's been done with them. But of course, if the supply of fluorspar becomes an issue, then they could will be revisited. But I think we can forget that certainly for the near term. The group has a number of assets, and I'm just going to speak before we go into the main exploration asset. I'm going to speak about one asset where in Finland the group has the Karasawa Finland Gold Project, which it sold to Orion Resources in March 2017, and all was quiet on there. Everything kept quiet because there was no activity. But Orion started drilling in about a year and a half ago, and effectively for Tertiary, they have a royalty agreement with a pre-production agreement at $1 per ounce on an inferred resource, $2 per ounce on an indicated resource, and $3 per ounce on a measured mineral resource. They then have a net smelter return of 2% on all future gold production, and if Orion develop this asset, they can purchase 50% of the net smelter resource for $1 million anytime prior to commencement. So that's a pretty chunky asset to have in your back pocket. And of course, Tertiary need do nothing. They've owned it, they've sold it, they have this agreement. Since that time, it has gone quiet. Of course, COVID, it was in the middle of COVID that the work started, so all of the associated issues with assays and everything else. But we do expect to hear something about Karasawa Gold at some point in the not too distant future. So that's one of the group's legacy assets in the back pocket. We then come to what the group are engaged with today. So I have worked with and known Tertiary Minerals for some years, and of course interviewed Patrick Cullen, who suddenly announced his departure in early this week. So it came as a bit of a surprise, but the company then followed that up with a very bullish announcement about the Zambia copper project. I'm going to come to that last. I'm going to just talk about the group's Nevada assets at the outset. So the group have a bunch of assets in Nevada, but the focus, of course, is on the Pyramid Silver and Gold project and the North Ruth prospect. The drilling work was undertaken early this year to on the back of some very strong sampling results, which were showing high grades of silver in the ground. The drilling campaign disappointed. It didn't work out. So of course, Pyramid has been put on the back burner for now. There is a copper project at Brandon Pass in Nevada, and Nevada itself is a hugely fertile area for exploration. The group has the group is engaged there. We had the Walker Lane Gold Belt, and of course there are many different operators on there, many historic mines across the area, which of course bore out the original decisions to go and get involved in Nevada. And of course we know with other companies, we of course. Power Metal Resources and its IPO spin out, which will soon come to market. Gold Metal Resources, it has a lot of engagement there with the Gold Conda, the Stonewall project, and also, of course, the group's flagship Pilot Mountain Tungsten project there as well. So we expect to hear more from Brunton Pass in the near future, but we then come to Zambia. And when Patrick Cullen joined Tertiary Minerals, he was responsible really for driving the engagement with Zambia. He had a lot of experience there, and indeed there was a lot of groundwork there undertaken early this year. Patrick was down there on the ground, and there were plenty of pictures floating around on Twitter. So the team were very high profile in that regard. So the key projects there are owned by the local company Moatia, and indeed Marcel Nally is still there on the ground. He's really the company's key contact there, and is the guy that's really overseeing the activity. Zambia is known for multiple world-class copper deposits across the copper belt, and these include Sentinel, Lumwana, Konkola, Mafarula, Mopani, Chambishi, and many others. A couple of years ago in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, over 800,000 tons of copper were produced. So the potential is well known. So as I say, with Marcel Nally on the ground there, the team have been able to work and develop these assets. The target with the greatest potential is Jax, and Jax copper is underlain by what's called the Lower Rhone Group. These are the rocks that host the major copper deposits across the Central African copper belt. Soil sampling, drilling, and modelling was carried out in the early noughties, and at the current time, prior to drilling, the company had identified an 18-kilometre long open-ended soil geochemical anomaly, and that's a pretty chunky size asset to see on the surface. There's also the Konkola West copper asset. Konkola West, there's an area called the Loansobi Fault Extension, and this is Konkola West is across this, and again similar geology to Jax, where there's data that indicates strong potential for copper mineralization. So drilling was undertaken by the team in Q2, and the company announced yesterday, this is 16th of June, that the 4 diamond core drill holes have been completed, spaced 150 meters between, total of 746 meters of drilling. And of course, on the ground, to get some early indications, there's a portable XRF, PXRF analysis machine that can give you some indications of the drilled core in field. Of course, investors into mining stocks will be familiar with pictures of racks of core ready to go for sampling. They'll run the XRF machine over it, and they can often get an indication of the potential of the asset. And certainly the XRF machine, the XRF machine and the drill holes were confirmed by the PXRF downhole. All confirmed the historical copper anomaly grades that came back, and obviously underscored the initial value in the asset. So 186 drill core samples have gone off for lab results, and these are now expected to back within a few weeks. So of course, where the delays that mining companies have been experiencing all over the world with COVID and delays and backlogs in laboratories is now starting to come to an end, and I think once we get these drill results back, if those grades are confirmed, then we are potentially at a very exciting juncture. At this point, it then gives the company or Tertiary the requirements to earn an initial 51% interest in the license, working with the local company on the ground, joint venture partner Moashia Resources. So that's where we're at present. Just a bit about the existing board at Tertiary. Of course, the team there is headed by Patrick Cheetham. Patrick has been in the industry for many years. He's well known. He's 39 years experience, well, probably 40 now, actually, looking at this document. And he's founded many other companies, Dragon Mining, Archean Gold, and of course is also the CEO and chairman at Sunrise Resources that the investors will also be familiar with. We then have Dr. Mike Armitage, who's a non-exec. He's also chairman of the Remuneration Committee. Mike Armitage is also previously managing director and chairman at SRK, which of course is the SRK Consulting. That's the company that produces estimates and reports and feasibility studies on major mining assets. So Mike's very key to the team and will be certainly very key as they develop the asset in Zambia. Also worth noting that Mike is chair of the Applied Earth Science Division and chair of the Geological Business Society in the UK. So he's a very highly qualified individual in that regard. Then long-standing non-exec Donald McAllister is basically the FD of the company and has many years' experience working with mining companies. Moana Africa, Ridge Mining, and Reunion Mining are all on his CV. So Tertiary currently trades at 0.15p, as I say, giving it a market capitalization of 1.8 million, which is derisory in my view, given that the Karasawa asset that I discussed at the start is probably worth 2 million alone, and that's before we even start on the Brunton Pass copper project in Nevada and then the value of the Jack's license in Zambia. We then have, of course, the Konkola West asset in Zambia that could develop into and have similar potential to the Jack's copper asset. So across the year, the shares have traded as high as 0.38p. Currently, we're on that year low of 0.15, and that's no doubt a reaction to Patrick Cullen's resignation. But I spoke to the team, and work is already underway. They've already identified several candidates for the role going forward. So I fully expect to hear about an appointment in the not too distant future. But given that the company is now at these lows, I think it's an excellent opportunity to pick up a company where the assets in the group simply don't figure on the actual value applied to the company by the market. So I think given where we are, I know I've spoken to other analysts in the city who feel the same way I do about this company, and certainly a gentleman that I know very well is invested in this firm and has the same belief as me and thinks we should be many times higher than the position the company is currently in.
Okay, so you say market cap of 1.8 million, and you think, or that one of the projects is worth 2 million, or is that actually a valuation that has been attributed from?
Well, with the Karasawa gold project, Orion Resources drilled that asset, and it's close to. Karasawa itself is close to some major gold mines in the region. Orion has a number of properties in the region, and there are some high grade gold mines close too. So it's reasonable to assume that there's the geology, the anomalies that were discovered there, and all add up to significant potential. Of course, gold is it's an asset. It's very much a safe haven asset. So when you have an asset like this, and you have the agreement in place, so you've got those numbers that I $1 per ounce on an inferred resource, $2 per ounce on indicated resource, $3 per ounce on a measured mineral resource. That all adds up to to a decent asset. Then they have the agreement that that if Orion develops the asset, it can then purchase 50% of the net smelter returns for $1 million anytime prior to commencement. So if Orion develops this, then potentially there's a huge asset there, and you could be looking up to $1 million to $2 million for that asset alone. So it applies. It applies no valuation at all to the Brunton Pass copper project in Nevada, or what the company are currently doing and fast tracking the development at Jack's license in Zambia. So, there is significant upside on offer here, I believe. And I think when there's a turnaround in the small cap junior resource market, and when will that arrive? Of course, I think once inflation is under control, once the nascent demand or the latent demand for commodities and assets is realised, it's these little companies that are developing these assets that will fill the gap, will fill the supply chain when that supply squeeze comes later on. And we're well aware of the potential upcoming shortages in battery for battery metals, and of course copper is a key part of any battery going forward, and it's a key part of clean tech going forward. So the demand and the upcoming supply squeeze will see companies like these I'm sure there'll be a reset in valuation in the not too distant future.
Okay, so it's almost waiting until the sector turns again, really, for the recognition to come there.
Indeed, but I think with Tertiary in particular, the share price obviously dropped lower on the back of Patrick Cullen's resignation.
Yeah, the market doesn't like uncertainty, does it?
It doesn't. But if you look at the actual valuation of the company now, there is no valuation to my mind attributed to any of the exploration assets. You've got and then you've got the legacy assets too. The company still has the fluorspar assets. So if there's a turnaround in that market, then those could be back on the table again. But certainly, with Karasawa, there's a legacy asset there that could come to fruition as Orion Resources develops and progresses the drilling campaign there further.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much, Alan, for your time again this week on the Research Talks on Stockbox, talking to us there about Botswana Diamonds and tertiary minerals. And I wish you a very pleasant weekend. I hope the warm weather continues throughout the weekend, and we'll speak again in a week's time.
Thank you, Mark, and you too.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.